All right, it's BJ Balls Our Comedy Podcast. How you doing, Geordie?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm not too bad. And today's special guest is Jarryd Goundrey. How you going?
Hey, g'day, boys. It's lovely to be on your podcast. How's everyone faring in this weird time?
Good, man. Thanks for jumping on.
Thank you for coming on. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it was hard. I looked at my calendar to see if I could fit you in, and yeah, it was full. I mean, it was completely empty. So here I am. Thank you.
Well, we probably wouldn't have much chance of getting you normally if it was on a weekend because you'd be doing your comedy pub tours, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've this right now in the life is a bit funny for me because I'm a busy guy.
You are a very busy guy.
I pride myself on being busy, and there's not much going on at the moment, so it's kind of weird. But I'm also like really enjoying it.
Oh, that's good. Well, thanks for taking the time to chat to us. It is ANZAC Day today, so we're just going to do a quick moment of silence with the last post, and then we'll jump into it. DJ Benny on it.
Hold on, I'm trying to work this out. Give us a sec.
DJ last post.
Oh, fuck.
Hey, I'm a veteran. I can say that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm laughing.
All right, we're back.
There it is. Bit of cheeky bugle.
Lest we forget, lads.
Lest we forget.
Did you want to talk about that? Like, how long should we chat comedy first, or?
Well, I'll go into because it is obviously ANZAC Day, and it's I'm a veteran myself. So I guess I sort of started my morning this morning. I got up at like 5 a.m, and I sort of, as I do that every morning. But then I was like, oh fuck, and then I actually I searched when dawn was, and I'm like, it's ages away. Because usually when I get up on ANZAC Day, I've got to get ready. There's a suit. I've got to get my medals out, and there's all this sort of stuff. And today it was just kind of like tracky pants.
Driveway tracky pants. Yeah, it's a bit different.
I didn't even get out of the driveway because I live in an apartment block, so I was actually out on the balcony, which overlooked the street, and a lot of other people were too. So it was kind of quite nice. And that was it. Took a few moments. That was it. Then just went back about my business. So it was a really different ANZAC Day than normal. Usually it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, agreed. I'm just glad to see that they're still, putting the effort. Still making a point of it, which is nice. And a lot of the radio stations are getting in on. Well, they were getting in. Should have had this conversation yesterday, but talking about getting your driveway, tune in, we're broadcasting.
It was actually a little bit nicer this year because I think without all the other stuff that goes with it, the march, the service, and the like copious amounts of pints that happens when you're an ex-serving member, you get together with your old army mates and you might not see them that often. And this morning it was just a nice reflection. Yeah. And then the day went on, and I can't really remember the last time I thought about like just the whole ANZAC Day situation and all that sort of thing without being distracted by a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And I quite enjoyed it. It was nice.
Good.
It was somber, but it was great. So I think
good.
behind it all, it doesn't matter about what it is. It was built for a reason, and that's for the remembering, and it was good.
Yeah. Oh, it's better than mine. I went out in the driveway and being in Frank's, and there was some junkies having a fight a couple of blocks up, so I went back inside. But I tried. I always buy the poppies and whatever I can get my hands on beforehand. Absolute respect to it, but I was like, no.
Yeah. Looking out there, seeing them, you're like, the war's never done, lads.
This is not what they fought for. Yeah.
No. Where did you serve? I mean, did you serve anywhere particularly?
So I joined the army at 18, 2006. So a while ago now. It's probably 14 years ago, and joined in, did the whole basic training and that sort of thing, and then just when I got to my unit, my battalion, 2nd Battalion, North Queensland represent, we went to East Timor on the 2nd Intervention sort of like peacekeeping force there.
Yep.
And we spent close to 8-9 months there, and that was it. It was fucking crazy. It was phenomenal. It was eye-opening and beautiful and sad and everything in between. And I feel so long ago now. Like it feels like a lifetime ago, really.
Oh yeah, 14 years. Yeah, it's ages ago.
Yeah, stayed in for 7 years and then got out. So it was like the first sort of chapter of my adulthood.
Yeah, no shit.
It was kind of weird because I spent the most, because when you're that age, when you're 18 to 25, when I was in, that's the years where you do heaps of dumb shit.
Get kicked out of a few share houses, and
that is the time there.
Destroy some relationships.
Happens.
Yeah,
and I did that with a gun. They were like, you want to spend these like years of being like the most irresponsible human ever? And I'm like, yeah, of course. They're like, fine, here's a rocket launcher. So yeah, it's good. Like, I mean, being in the military was the best. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how great the military is, because it's not. But I've forged friendships for life, and it definitely has guided me into who I am today, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, it's a really big part of who I am, I think.
Did you ever want to join the army, Geordie?
Never been fit enough. Like that's probably
fair enough.
You're gonna lose that hair too.
Yeah, I'd have to lose it. Fuck yeah, I'd have to lose the hair. No, I think I thought about it once when I was a kid, because like I always like my war movies and stuff. I know that it's a gross misrepresentation, as is everything in Hollywood. But my high school girlfriend, when we left school, she went. Duntroon? Is that the name?
Yeah, Canberra.
Right? Yeah. She went there because her mum was a federal cop, so I think that sort of stuff lined the family tree a little bit, and she wanted to get into the army, and she fucking hated it. So I heard all the horror stories of what it was firsthand. I was like, yeah, maybe not.
It's funny that you say that you'd seen the movies or whatever. I think as a kid growing up, like How Good a War movies are sensational, and especially like I grew up through that sort of great 90s, late 80s sort of like action like movie genre that was like Commando and all, like that's all we watched as kids, and it was incredible. But I joined the army, and like they don't tell you much about it at recruit training. They showed me this video for half an hour, and it was just wicked. Like, it was people shooting guns and flying around in helicopters and playing footy and having a good time, and that was really edited. Yeah. Like for every 5% of that, there's a whole lot of like mainly nothing. As in sitting around on your pack waiting for a helicopter for like 6 hours. smoking durries. Like there's like sitting in a puddle out in the field exercise because you dug a trench and it filled up with water, and then like that's where you live, and you just sit there being like, this is shit. I'm looking out at no one because like it's an exercise, and I was sitting there and like you come back home and people are like, thank you so much for your service, and you're like, I've got moldy balls. Like, you fucking better thank me, you know, like
kiss them better. Yeah.
Yeah,
what about you, Benny?
Mate, yeah.
Because you're quite an angry person, you'd go well there, I think. Like,
Well, I was actually I was a child soldier.
oh, like an African.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, well, obviously. Yes, I've got a shade.
that explains his dick. All right.
Yeah.
Actually was. Wait a minute. You can have a look. There you go. That's me. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
What's going on there?
See, that's child soldier, mate.
You're a cadet. Were you a cadet?
No, that wasn't it.
No, he was actually part of the Hitler Youth Group.
Actually, does look a bit like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, thanks for your service.
Where's your knife, Benny? Yeah.
No, it was. No, I always wanted to join the army. Like, I mean, it would have sort of fallen in the 90s. I was going to do a stint. Like, I was going to go over to Montenegro and former Yugoslavia and do a stint there. Because my grandfather did it. My grandfather actually found a photo of my grandfather in that. Let's see.
Oh shit!
Just refresh me on my Montenegro history. Communist bloc or not communist bloc?
Well,
former, obviously.
Former, yeah, it was former. It was under Tito and all that, and then it all got divided in the start of the late 80s, early 90s. And a few of my mates, well, guys that I know, they did go over and they sort of did take sides in the Civil War, and there was a few of them that didn't come back. So
that would have been quite hardcore army to join.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, it was a civil war. You chose your side, you stuck to your side, and that was it. It was sort of like there was a shitload of factions. So it's probably about every place you go to now, like say the former Yugoslavia, it's sort of, you know, you got your Montenegrins, you got your Serbs, you got your Croats, you got your Bosnians. Yeah, we're all the same now in the sense of you can go anywhere, nobody's going to say anything. But at that point, there was a bit of friction. And even when we were growing up, you sort of, I never said I was Montenegrin. I said I was Yugoslav. And my dad said he was Yugoslav. And so on.
Yeah, right.
But everybody sort of turned around and said, oh, no, I'm a Croat, or I'm a Serb, or I'm this, you know what I mean? So, and that's where a lot of the infighting started. And then the religion kicked in, and then it was all just that bullshit of, now it's just retarded because every place you go to, when I was there a couple of years ago, you know, they've got probably 200,000 or 300,000 people in each sort of country now, like, you know, Croatia and Serbia and that, and none of them are making money. It's all turned to shit. So they actually went backwards instead of going forwards, you know. So
yeah, right. It's so weird to, like, growing up in a blessed country like Australia, to not have to deal with strife within our borders.
Yeah,
you know, like we've been a united country pretty much since the get-go, and it's so strange, like, to think that other countries have that, which is more common than not, you know. And even advanced countries like the USA, with like the friction they had with the civil rights movement and all that sort of stuff, we're so lucky just to, you know, that's why we complain so much. It is true, man. You go to any country that's had real issues, and you're just like, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't call people that, and they're like, dude, I couldn't walk to school without getting blown up, you know. Like,
fuck,
I don't care about what you think, you know?
Actually brings up a really good point. Like, that's like, what made you interested in joining the army? Because like I've always had an interest in war in terms of like World War II. Like, I'm a massive World War II buff, but it's never prompted me to pick up a gun. Like, I always thought about getting like a K998 Mauser or something replica for the wall. That's it. Like, because they look beautiful. But like, that comes back to like we're in a very blessed country. Like I remember there was a school we had a rivalry against. We'd try to like punch on with them every time we played footy. Like that's it. There's just no. There's just nothing to.
I'm going to level with you right now, and I'm going to tell you why I joined the army. And like, I just think it's really honest to tell the truth.
Yeah.
But there wasn't much kind of, I need to do this and rah, Australia, sort of like, rah.
Kind of like the Americans.
Yeah, it was for me. It was literally just like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was in Perth, Western Australia. There wasn't kind of much going on. I had no idea. This was something that I knew I could earn a decent amount of money with, go ahead and see a lot of other things. And it just kind of went from there. And I just kind of joined because I didn't really know what else I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that's it. There wasn't any sort of like romance behind it at all.
Yeah.
There never is. I mean, I spoke to my dad, my brother-in-law, and that. Basically, they had to do it over there's, say, for example, there's two sons in the family. The first one does, I think, 8 months. Second one does a year and 6 months.
Yeah, right.
They work it out.
They just figure it out. They're like, oh, you go, and then I'll go.
Yeah. Well, no, but basically that's how it sort of falls under that communism rule sort of thing. But nobody really wanted to be in the army. I mean, the only thing that sort of pulled them along was how poor they were, in the sense of you got to remember these people are village people, even though because they're living on the coast and shit, they're still people. So for them, like, fuck that. I get 3 square meals a day. I'll learn something. I might get something out of it, and 9 times out of 10 they usually do. Somebody sort of went further and whatever, mechanic, fucking whatever they did. And they learnt a lot of stuff like that, so that's what sort of dragged them into do it. But for the fighting aspect of it, I never heard anybody out of all the wogs that I know, nobody went, fuck, they were killing each other and, like that whole American thing. I want to go fucking kill 50 people. It's like, I don't know about that, but
Americans are wild. Hey, like I was on a US Navy ship for like a month at one stage, just kind of doing like we're on some exercise or doing something, and we were stuck on the ship because they're doing these war games, and they didn't really involve us, so we're just kind of sitting there and we're going mad, and we're sitting in the mess, which is on the ship where they eat. And we're listening to these Americans talk about like Iraq. And they're just going, yeah, man. And we're getting shot from a building. So we just drove the tank through the building. And I'm like, sorry, what? And they're like, yeah, it was just, like the rounds are expensive. And I'm like, they're not coming out of your wage. Like,
fucking hell.
Just, I just think. And we spun them out real hard because they had a cinema on this boat, the USS Juno. It's now sunk. That's how old the ship was. And they sunk it to make a reef.
Sculpted it. Fuck.
Yeah. And they put on in the cinema one night the movie The Castle. And we're like, like how good is this? I think there was 300 of us in the cinema and a couple of hundred of them. And we were going like mental. And they didn't get it. Like, they didn't understand at all. And we were like poking them, like, this bit's hilarious. Like, you dug a hole. And and at the end of them, they're like, that was a really nice documentary. And we're like, no, it's a comedy. And they're like, oh, all right. Okay. Yeah, cool, man. They don't understand anything.
Where's the guns? No, there's no guns. There's no guns in this one. No.
No surrender there, hey?
God, that accent would do your head in after a while. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
So, let's ask the question now. How did you get into comedy?
Ooh, comedy. I don't know, man. Like, I've been doing comedy for coming up 4 years now. I think September's like, I don't have a date, but that's my rough sort of anniversary. And it took me a while before I went in my head, I'm going to be a comedian, to doing that first gig was a while. And it bugged me because, when you kind of daydream, like when you want to, like you're in the car and the song comes on and you're like, geez, I'd love to play that acoustically at a house party.
Yeah.
Just watch my friends be like, I didn't know he had that skill.
Oh my God, I want to fuck him. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, well, for me, that was comedy. Like, and in my mind, I'd be like, oh, yeah, you know, like, I'd like to do this thing. Because I was crushing, like, friendship groups hard. Like,
that brings me to a question. I was like, were you the funny cunt in every group you were in?
Destroying.
Like, overseas and stuff? Yeah.
Destroying fucking friendship groups. You know, like, when I look back on it, I reckon my first gig was actually in the army because it was in basic training, and we had this like drill instructor that had his voice would break whenever he sort of called out drill. He'd be like left, right, left, and it was hilarious, right? And we had to keep our faces straight. We're like trying not to laugh. Anyway, one night all the instructors had gone wherever, like home or shit. So I'm like, fuck this. I'm gonna bring all the guys out and I'm gonna set them up, you know. And I was imitating him, being like, all right, you pieces of shit. And they were doing it, and then I was like, left, and they're like turning around, and I was like, right, and they were doing it. And then they stopped moving, and I was like, I doubled down on them, like, you fucking listen to me, I'm fucking telling you what to do. And that motherfucker was right behind me, hey. And like, I was crushing hard, destroying that joint. And yeah, I did push-ups in the rain all night. And yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it. Yeah, because every time I tell that story now, or like ANZAC Day, Remembrance Day, I see someone like, oh, you remember that time you fucking got done doing this? And I'm like, yeah, it's still funny. Like, so
fucking hell.
That, like, I was being funny, you know. I didn't know how to be funny on a stage. I mean, I was started doing comedy, and you know, like weekly, sort of at an open mics and that sort of stuff. And I was bad. I was bad at it. Like, I wasn't good. Yeah, I didn't start. It wasn't a natural starter. I didn't know how to write jokes. I didn't know what was funny. I was just kind of talking, didn't have much structure. And yeah, I was bombing. I was just bombing everywhere.
Oh,
and yeah, it wasn't a natural start. It took me maybe about 8-9 months in to get where I considered that I could do a 5 minutes that was reliable.
No shit.
Yeah.
Whereabouts did you start?
First gig, Station 59 in Richmond, the sort of the predecessor to the Highlander setup. Yeah. It was the sort of first thing that came up in Google. Yeah. I think. So I'd just gone, I want to be a comedian. Cool. What do you do now? So I literally Googled. I got a Google. I went open mic stand-up comedy, and that came up, and I went, oh, cool. I lived in Richmond at the time. And I watched 3 weeks in a row before I got up. And I was watching people, and I was like, man, I'm way better than that. And I'm like, these guys suck. And I was like, I can't.
Geordie, shout out to Tony Magnuson. I got to find it. Let me give you a sec. Where is it? There we go. Wait. There you go, Tone.
I vividly remember seeing Tony on one of my first times. Yeah, he came up and did this bit about getting. Oh, I remember it. It was like getting 50 Xanax or something. Like, and I was watching that, and I'm like, comedy's fucking easy as. I was like, I don't know what this guy is, but I'm enjoying it, and it's weird, and like everyone else was laughing, and I'm like, I can't wait to fucking pull this apart and destroy these joints. And I got together this set that was fucked up, man. Like, it was shit house. Hey, I don't think I've saved anything from it. And I kind of just went up and like, oh, how you going? And was just talking about birds, like how birds, like, I don't know, like how I think birds are funny, and there's like birds in New York that like never slept because it's like there's lights everywhere and shit, and it was fucking gross, man. Like, it was legitimately shit house, hey. And I'm so glad nobody filmed it.
That's usually a good indicator whether it was that bad or bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't need anyone. I don't need to look back on it now and be like, that's where I went wrong. I just knew as soon as I walked off. I'm like, that was shit. Like as soon as I walked off, like you know, as soon as you walk off stage, how good it went to a T almost. You don't need anyone to be like, I like what you did with the callback. You're like, I know, I wrote it. Like it's just. I mean, we like hearing it and like, yeah, you really got them because they were like fading from the guy before you. You fucking know, right? Like as soon as you get off, you know, and that's why you do comedy. Like I knew. I walked off and went, because I wish I had a joke about 50 Xanax right about now.
How did you get over it? I mean, how did you if you're bombing so much, how did you sort of go, fuck, I've got to keep taking the hits.
I said to myself, I said, if it made me angry because I knew I was funny, and I was just like, it was a really good reality check. It's like, oh, hang on, that's another beast. It's like, you're not in the warm crowd of the four friends that have got context and they know, oh, that's such a Jarryd thing to say, or he always comes in and says this. All of a sudden it was like, oh, come on then, give it to me cold.
Yeah,
exactly. And I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything. Essentially, I didn't have any jokes. I didn't have a set list. I had like a couple of scratchings of what I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
And then when they weren't funny, I didn't have anything. Right.
Fuck, that is such a good way of looking at it.
So I went fuck. So I went fuck, and I went back, and like that whole week, I wrote a set. I typed it out, and I went, "This is what I'm going to do." And I went up, and it bombed. And I'm like, "Ah." And I said to myself on the third time, I said, if I don't get a laugh with this, I said, fuck it. I'm like, it's fine. I've done it,
Yeah.
And the third time I did okay. And I got a bunch of laughs. And then I met Billy Stiles after the gig. And we've been working together for years. But he said, hey, that was really good. And I went, oh, cheers. Because I already knew. I'd walked off and I was like, yeah, that was all right.
Save your breath, Billy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I kind of just went back and forth from there. I had good gig, bad gig, good gig, bad gig, until I just moved that strike rate down to sort of like kind of where it is maybe now. But
no, you're a very good comic now. That's why we got you on. But that's good.
But it was hard. Like it was very difficult for a long time. It was
shit.
Because bombing hurts. I equate it to like,
Jarryd, I know.
it's almost the same feeling when you're like 8 and a girl says that they don't want to date you. Like it just sucks for like days, like
I was going to say, it's more like when you drop your pants and a girl sees you for the first time.
Oh, that's the worst. Yeah.
Is that it?
You've always got shit dick too. Like when you're getting dacked at school, you're not like, oh, can I just rub it for a minute?
Hang on, boys, come back in a minute.
Yeah, someone's just like on like a fucking 4-degree day in fucking July. And you're like, I swear it's better. Like that's what bombing is. It's your shit dick.
It's probably not all right to have a hard on in a high school these days anyway.
Yeah, bombing when you walk off feels like, don't dack me now. It's usually good. Like.
Look at it now.
Yeah.
It is fucking gut-wrenching though. Like, do you remember
horrible.
the worst bomb? Like after you... We won't count, as you first starting because everyone bombs when they start. But like when you started getting your kill streaks up, so to speak. Like what is the worst fucking bomb you had, and how'd you get back from it? What happened?
I didn't get back from it on the night at all. I after maybe that sort of 6 to 7 to 8 month mark. Very fortunately, my bombs have been few and far between. And I'm a pretty precious comic, whereas I don't usually go into many gigs with a whole lot of brand new gear. I do the old sort of 3 jokes at the start, get them on, and then I try stuff out because I stopped wanting to bomb a long time ago. So I figured out, I go, if I can get them early, then I can try some stuff, and then I figured out go-to jokes to get them back, and
it's a recipe.
Yeah. And look, I'll lie to you, it kind of works a lot. So I started doing that once I figured out how to do that. So I've been very fortunate, but I remember one night at an open mic. I'd gone and I didn't know the skills at the time, but there was like 8 people in the audience, kids, like not kids, like uni kids, like they're drinking, but they don't know how to, you know?
Oh, they're the worst. Yeah.
And I took them for granted, because to get any audience at an open mic is all right. But I went out there and I thought it was cool to be like, hey, look at you fucking pieces of young shit. With your fucking virginity and stuff. And I just, I got them off. And I shouldn't have, because they were the only crowd there. Like, I was just dumb shit, man. And I was doing all right up until this. I just thought I'd try something. And I tried being like, you fucking losers. And, geez, I look like a loser. And I knew straight away, halfway in, I maybe got one joke at the end with a laugh, and I fucking walked out. And I walked off up the sweet little stairs at Gorilla.
Yeah.
It was where it was, yeah.
They're painful stairs if you fuck up.
And somebody goes, good set, man. And I said, no, it wasn't. And I went home. That was it. I went, no, it wasn't. And I kept going to the train station, went home. And I woke up the next day, and I felt like I'd been drinking, because I woke up and I remembered that the bomb happened the night before. I went, oh my God. And I just went in the shower and I went, and I was like, oh, and yeah, 3 days, I reckon it hurt.
Fuck.
It hurtful. It was really shitty. I got a good story about bombing, right?
Yeah.
So I was doing comedy for a while, and my housemates had known that I'd been doing comedy. And I was going all right at it too. And they came to 2 gigs, and both of them was just like mathematically spot on the both times I fucking bombed.
Yeah.
And they were always at home being like, oh, how's the comedy going? And I was posting on Facebook like, I've been here and I've been there. And they're like, this guy's fucking doing a lot for someone who's shit, right? And then I came to the time to do my first comedy festival, so I invited them, and being good housemates, so they would come.
Yeah.
But one of their friends who had come and see me the same time that they bombed, like my housemate was cooking dinner, and she passed me her phone and she said, hey, can you message such and such and tell her that this is happening for the night? I went, no worries. So I opened up her phone, and the last message that was in there was about her inviting her to my comedy festival show. Oh. And it said, geez, I hope he's good, because I can't sit through that again. And I didn't say anything. Yeah, I didn't say anything. And I just sent the message away. I closed the phone, and I just went to work. I was like, I'm going to make this show fucking great. You know, like, I'm going to practice, because I saw the behind the scenes. I saw what they thought, you know, like.
I saw the damage I caused with my words.
And
fuck, man.
And that was I did 6 nights in my first comedy festival, and they came maybe night 5, and I was nerve wracking. Like, I was absolutely shitting it, because like they already knew I was shit, and I knew whenever they were polite to me that they were just being nice. And it was really rewarding. I had a great gig, and they went, fuck, that was great. And that was probably one of the best gigs of my life.
Oh, that's like a Disney story. That's lovely. I like it.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
Bomb the musical.
Have you ever thought of putting that as like a you know when people do their posters and they've got like little snippets from reviews and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
You should do that as well. Like put the serious ones up, because I've seen a few of your posters, and you do have actual, what do you call them, accolades or something? But like put
I don't know.
That's not the word.
Testimonies.
Yeah, something like that. But just throw one up there and see if people notice. That'd be fucking hilarious. Disgruntled housemate. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope he's good, because I don't want to sit through it again. It's an awesome one.
That is so brutal.
Yeah, it hurt. That hurt a lot. I was like, whoa, shit. And I know I was too far in. Like the show was 3 weeks, and then and I was like, oh dear. Because sometimes, you know how sometimes you just don't know if you think what you're doing is like just a twisted perspective of like reality. Because I thought I was doing okay, and then I was like, every now and then you go, maybe this is a dream. That's
the thing though. You don't know if what you're saying is funny until you actually perform it. I don't think.
Oh, sometimes until you've performed it 10 times.
Well, yeah,
You know?
like like you add different tags to it, and I'll swap that word out for something else or whatever. But
my favorite thing to do is to do a joke for the first time and it really kills, and then the second time it really bombs, and then it just leaves you devastated. Like, what the fuck is going on? You're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, it's just like, it's confusing.
nah, blame the crowd on that one. Work for the first motherfuckers on the first night.
So what is your process for writing? I mean, for the for the young guys out now and listening and that. I mean,
so
I'm about it.
I'm a bit of a strange one. So I'll give you a little. I'll kind of give you a bit of a. So I've got the office. So I get up at. Look, I try 5 o'clock most mornings, and I try and write for an hour before anyone else wakes up, because then I want to be just working. I just want to be working on it.
Yep.
So I kind of just have this. Is my office, by the way.
That's fancy.
And I keep like a whole lot of bunch of writing stuff in there, and I also have like a bit of like a whiteboard for stuff, and I just have like little reminders, like this is like do the work, all right? Comedy, like you got to put in the fucking miles, and you got to write and edit and be tough. And I just look at that and I'm like, yeah, okay, and I've got write, rehearse, repeat, and then I've just got a bunch of stuff that I'm working on, all right? So if I'm ever writing without a purpose is fucked, right? If you sit down and you just like looking at that little cursor flicking at you and you're like, I got to write something.
Yeah.
You never will. So I just keep like a little bit of a guide. Like, this is what I want to write on. I've thought about this. I think this is something in it. So I just keep myself a little bit there. And then I'm around the room. I've got my favorite Empire Strikes Back, favorite movie poster. I've got a bunch of things that I'm kind of a bit proud of, I guess. Like I've got posters from shows I've done in Brisbane, shows I was going to do. So I've got like that were for the comedy festival got cancelled. So I printed them out and I put them up. I'm like, nah, keep going,
yeah.
And I just leave them there. So if I'm ever sitting down, struggling for stuff, I can kind of inspire myself a bit. And then it's just got to sit down. I write my jokes down like that. And I think people get lost sometimes. They think they need to write, like writing is writing. But I think when you do 2 hours of writing, if you write one joke, that's a win.
Yeah.
If you spend the other time thinking about jokes, or if you cut out 2 words out of a previous joke, that's also writing. I think there's this romance where you think I've got to sit down and there has to be a candle on a typewriter. And I go, blah, and I don't think, and the things come out. Nah, you just got to do hard work.
Yeah.
And I think 1 out of every 5 mornings that I write, something happens and the other 4 doesn't. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because to get that 1 out of 5, if I was to do a writing session once a month, then I'm only getting a good one every 5 months.
Yeah. So you're still putting the effort in, and
by doing a lot, I can now get a good writing session once a week. And for me, that's very good. So just go whack, whack, whack. But I think my process probably works very similar to what most other people do. I mean, I write shit down in my phone every day.
Yeah.
And I just kind of go from there. So I put down the idea and I write it down on my whiteboard. So when I'm struggling and I go, I don't have anything to write about, I look at the 20 things and I go, oh, hang on, I've got lots to write about. And then I just give it a go. And then I type. So I type a lot because I like to be able to copy and then paste it underneath and then make the changes and then look at both of them.
Yeah.
And say which one's better. And I just write down my stuff line for line. So if the opening thing of the joke is blah, 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 and then the punchline is blah, 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 then the second bit is on a different line.
Yeah.
It's not I write for the eye to read rather than in paragraphs. And I put my premises and anything that's not funny in black and everything that I think could be funny in red.
Okay.
So then when I'm reading it, I know what I need to garnish. So by garnish, I mean, if you say something in a particular way, it can get a laugh. And I put all the potentials on that. And then when I start rehearsing, I go, I think I can get a laugh here just by saying this word in a particular way.
Yeah, gotcha.
Just start going for it. I was just thinking, I was showing you this on video, but I don't think when you record just a podcast, it doesn't have video.
It will come out on video eventually.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So that's kind of it. And then I just I wrote a joke yesterday. If you want to hear it,
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
It says, "This is it." So I'll read it as if I'm just reading it, and so it says, "I overheard somebody saying they're going to kill their wife with a hitman." I said, "That's disgusting. It's 2020. It could have been a hit woman. In fact, they might not even have a gender. They might have already killed their former self."
I wouldn't open with that at Voltaire. Yeah.
And that's an example of a shitty joke I wrote. And I quite like it because I reckon in 6 months it could be real funny.
Yeah. Look, it might not have a dick, but it's definitely got legs. It definitely work. That was good, man.
I think writing, like, so I keep a word count as well. So over the last 4 weeks, I've written 5,000 words.
Fuck.
And from that, I think 850 are okay. So that's good, because what percentage is that? You're looking at
man, I can't do maths. Fucking hell.
17%, right? Yeah, that's correct.
Got Rain Man here. Fucking hell. Now, if anyone listening he can't see the video yet, Jarryd's got this like thing on behind him where he's got the strings and the pins and all that sort of shit, like he's trying to work out who the Black Dahlia murderer was. But yeah, no, that's really good. No, that's actually really fucking hands-on, man.
So if I'm working at a 17% ratio of good things to bad things, then I know that 100% needs to be quite big.
Yeah.
To make the 17% work for me on stage, because
Yes.
I want to be able to keep rolling it over. So I need to keep practicing to get that 17% to around 30%. That'd be nice. And that would just comes from, figuring out what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Working more efficiently.
Like
and then also just increasing that 100% as big as I can, to then, when that is 30%, now that 30%'s huge because I've done the hard work when it was 17%.
Yes.
How'd you figure all this out? I mean, like, you just sort of come up with this whole little plan and then went.
Yeah, trial and error. I think it's important to assess your own work. Kind of like audit yourself.
Yep.
And figure out, if I want to write a show, I look at a show as 8,000 words. But now, if I reverse that thing back onto the percentage-wise, how many words do I really need to write?
Huh.
If only 17% of them are going to make an 8,000-word show, then I'm really writing, whatever that is, thousands and thousands and thousands of stuff, right? There's a saying in writing that you need to write a million words, burn them, turn your back on them, and then you're ready to go. That's like an old novelist sort of like saying. And
I don't think I've ever written a million words. I fucking hate writing and reading. So that's probably why we're on different levels.
But
that's nuts.
But so to get, I just figured it out. Like I think it's very, in comedy especially, you got to be really honest with yourself. And when things go well, it's nice to enjoy it. But if you just kind of get into
where do you draw from then? I mean, in the sense of, do you just draw from everyday experiences, life,
anything and everything, essentially.
Yep.
It's sad to say, but I think I've been doing this long enough now that my brain's ticking along to being like, you can use that.
Yep.
I've like with anything, like sad things are happening and you're like, bam, like there's something in that. Which is good and bad depending on how you look at it. Yeah. I remember I was at a funeral for a family member, and this is when I knew I was a comedian. And there was a coffin going into. It was one of my family members. There was a coffin going into where they gets cremated. And it had rosemary on top.
No!
I elbowed my brother. We were sitting there in suits. We just finished crying. I elbowed my brother, and I go, the roast is going to come up good.
Oh, no.
And he goes, what's fucking wrong with you? And I said, yeah, you're right. They should have used time. And at that point I went, I reckon I can do this. I reckon I got comedy in me.
Jesus.
But like, that's horrible. But if you can get to a point where you start, you know, and I just make sure I think creativity and creating content and stuff for the stage. Imagine, I think your brain as a tap, right? And everyone thinks when the tap's on, that's when you start getting all your ideas. But I just think it constantly leaks.
Yeah.
And if you can put a bucket under your creativity and capture all the things, and that's why I think note taking is really important. So everything that happens during the day, you just take a note of it. You just take a note of it. You take a note of it. And then when it comes to writing, you've got stuff, your bucket's full.
Yeah.
You can put it on the metaphorical garden of comedy and grow some stuff. But if you...
sorry, you go. No, you go.
I was saying, if you don't, like, how much funny things happen throughout the day, and then you go, oh, what was I talking about earlier? And then you forget it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think it's really important to capture it when it's around. And then, because we can't jokes. Some people will say jokes just fall into your lap, you know, like you're driving and then a joke comes, and like, that's very true. That does happen.
Agreed.
But I think 90% of them happen through figuring it out and writing them, or just going over it with 20 friends until you go, oh, that's ready. And then the stage process happens. So if you can accelerate that part, I think you can do well.
Yeah. No, that's very good advice. I was going to ask, do you still do the public transport thing? Because I remember when we drove down, this is probably the first time I hung out with you properly.
Headphones?
We went down to Ballarat and I was asking you about writing processes and stuff because I had no fucking idea what I was doing. And, and you mentioned I'll let you explain it because I found it fucking fascinating. And
at that time, I used to get I'd get my book and I'd jump on the tram and I'd go from one end to the other and get back outside my house and walk back in. And I'd just I'd wear headphones in with no music and I'd just listen to everyone. Because the amount of time I heard somebody else speaking about something and I went, oh yeah, I've done that too. And then I figured out that there's relatability in that.
Yeah.
I don't do that as much as I used to, but I think I kind of set myself up for better writing conditions. But
well, that's why I'm curious.
I want to do that again. Actually,
you can't now.
About that.
You can't now, but you know, give it a few months. But yeah,
I could wear high vis and then.
Excuse me, what were you saying just then? I'm curious. Yeah.
Get a load of this, right? So obviously, I lost my job with this whole virus shenanigans.
Doing the chefy things.
Yeah, and I just started working as a renderer.
No shit.
Yeah, because my mate called me and he's like, "Do you know how to render?" And I'm like, "Nah." And he's like, "Cool. When can you start?" I joined the world, so I got a pair of old boots, so I had an old high vis, and fuck, man, it's a crazy world out there. Like, my first day was like probably the most textbook tradie day ever. Like, it was the whole thing. Like, I had a high vis. I rocked up to the work site. I had steel caps on. It rained. I went home, and that was my fucking first day. It was sick. But it's opened up this whole world of like this tradie thing. So I was thinking, I don't know how long I'm gonna like not have a job for. So I kind of did half online the stop slow course. Right?
Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
And I got on and done it in Queensland because it was just cheaper and it's online, so who cares? But they're using this is fucking spot on. There's no lying in this whatsoever. But the instructional video for the stop slow course in Queensland is so old that it's got Russell Crowe in it.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it's his first acting gig.
That's probably why they're still using it. They can't afford to get into read it.
It's his first acting gig before Romper Stomper, in which he played a racist. So he's pretty much the same role. But and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's sitting there and he's just going like, and he swears in it too. He's like, "Ah, you bloody bastard," because you could back then.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal. Yeah, it's sick.
That's amazing. That's almost worth doing the course.
Yeah. I've got my money's worth already. So
Fucking hell.
I'm a tradie guy, and it's funny because it's like, oh, you gotta just say the most randomest things to people. Like I was at a work site. Yes, they're not doing 1.5 meters in it on a work site.
No, neither are mechanics. Don't worry.
Yeah, and then it's like I rocked up. There's 30 blokes having a ciggy, and like I don't look like much of a tradie, Like I've got the stuff on, but you can tell. Like they're like, he's wearing a wire, So I just start talking about stuff. I'm like, fucking boys, how are we? Keeping it bloody real, or just whatever people say. And they're like, they can tell. They're like, oh yeah, because I'm there smoking too, but I've just got like TaylorMades. They're like, he's not one of us, mate. Fucking rollies or nothing. Yeah. How do you roll a cigarette with render all over your hands? Yeah, it's a bit of an eye opener. So anyway, that's a bit about me. More back to comedy.
Do you think it's going to change?
I was going to ask a question. Like, I'm.
Go.
No. You go.
Sorry, I just lost you guys for like
20
seconds.
Me too. What did you say, Benny?
No, I was just going to ask. Do you think it's going to change now? I mean, do you think comedy's going to change? First and foremost, how did you feel about the whole festival thing, debacle, bullshit that went on? That's one. And do you think it's all going to change now after we all get back? Do you think this political correct bullshit that's been going on for fucking 10 years or whatever is going to go back to a bit of go fuck yourself? You know what I mean? I think. What do you think?
In your first question, just a bit of clarification. Are you talking about festival getting cancelled, or are you talking about refunds and stuff?
Refunds, cancelled, the whole lot. I mean, how they went about it and all that sort of stuff. How did you feel, and what did you think of that?
I think obviously at the time it was quite upsetting, but I think in hindsight, it's obviously the best result. I mean, it had to be cancelled. It was just like, if they had waited and then the festival had started and then they'd already had artists trying to get people into their shows when everything else is kind of not operating, it would have been heartbreaking for the thing. At least they called it. Yeah. And we could move on. I think with the refund business, they said they weren't going to refund us, and then they said they were. I still haven't received a refund, by the way. But like, I think they should refund you. We signed up to do a festival and the festival didn't happen. That's just, you know what I mean? So, but, there'll be more festivals in the future. I don't think it's a big deal in the grand scheme of the world. But as far as what's comedy happening from here, I think right now, while comedy's not on, I think this is the most exciting time in comedy that I can ever remember, because what you've got every single artist away from comedy, and they can all get a chance to think, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
When you're caught up and you're doing each gig and you're getting ready and you're just kind of like in the motion, it's confusing and it's hard and you're driven, and right now everyone's having a breather. And I think when we get back, you're going to see a couple of things. I think you're going to see a real separation of talent. Yep. I think the people that use this time and make content and knuckle down and kind of figure out what they want to do and make a plan are going to leapfrog people that don't. And I think that's really exciting. I think people coming back, I'm worried about a couple of things. I think when people are coming back, I'm not sure if audiences are going to want to hear about Corona too much.
I'm with you on that.
And I think, from my perspective of material, I think when we get back, I believe we'll have really engaging audiences, because people will just want to go out and do stuff.
Yeah, they're fucking starved.
I think we have a responsibility to put on good shows and to not abuse that. And if you want to do Corona stuff, I think a lot of people will, and there's should, but I think we've got to move away from what's been done with memes and everything that's happened in between. Like Chinese bat jokes are done. Corona, isolation, I was wanking heaps has been done. Like I want to,
Yeah.
I want to
Well,
hear.
I'm not finished yet, but yes, it has been done. Yeah, the jokes have been done.
I would like to hear a lot of material about what people found out during their time. You know, I'd like to hear jokes about like I had to, I had to stay with my parents and I found out this about my dad. He fucking chews in a weird way. Like stuff I want to hear about what you've figured out, like humanity wise within this time of reflection. And then you can come back, and if you figured out something about life that is relatable to other things, then you're really going to go far, because people are going to be like, that's so true. I've never thought about that. It took this virus for me to figure out why there is 2 functions of flush in the toilet or something. Like that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear.
See what Geordie's saying. See what Geordie's saying now. See what Jarryd's saying, Geordie. He's saying to me that I can't fucking do I hate the Chinese. Fuck me, Dad.
You can
No, I'm going to be.
You can still hate the Chinese.
Benny hates everyone, to be fair. Disclaimer. But.
Yeah, but that's just my opinion. So I think right now, it's very exciting, because I think when the gates open for comedy, you'll see who's been doing what.
I 100% agree, man. That's going to be it's going to be interesting times.
It's a question for both of you. I was thinking about it the other day. Do you guys think it's going to take a while for everybody to sort of get, how can I put it, money-wise, people are going to struggle. We all know this. We can see this. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to take a while for getting people back into the rooms and that type of thing? Because, it's not a necessity. Let's be honest. I mean, yeah, I need a laugh, but if I can't get food on the table for the kids and the wife and the family, I'm fucked. You know what I mean? So do you think that's going to factor in a lot of this once we get back? I mean,
potentially. I think obviously we're looking to have a recession of some description.
Yeah.
That's just a fact of life at this point in time. I think it's fair to say. I think for the first couple of weeks, it'll be booming for comedy. I think people will just go out for the sake of anything, if their local pub, but they usually go to on a Friday, has got comedy on a Tuesday, and they go there 4 times a week just because they can get out, then mathematically you have more chances of getting audiences.
Yeah.
And I think the real challenge will be, if there is some sort of like real financial hit, is putting on shows in the future. I want to put on a show at a venue for $20. $20 is going to be different to everyone than it was 6 months ago.
Agreed.
You're going to have to get a crowd or someone walking past, especially during festival season when people are flying. Come see my show. It's $15, and they're like, "Look, I only came out to see this one show. I might just." So I think it'll be difficult after the fact. But I think when comedy first opens, I think you'll see a lot of people going to anything and anything. And if you can jump on that, put on good shows, and then you can increase your chance of the person being that one show that people will pay for down the line.
Agreed. I agree with Jarryd, but I also think the first maybe 2-3 weeks, people are going to be so caught up with trying to catch up. I think because I've spoken to Jarryd Goundrey over the phone today, but I can't wait to have a beer with him. You know what I mean? So people are going to be more interested in.
True. Yeah.
The four of us used to go out, and we used to go to this bar. Blah 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 blah. Like I think comedy, music. What else? Other insane. Like shit like that. Your trivia nights, all that sort of thing. I think that will come as a secondary thing, like a month or so after, because I think the first 2 weeks. It's like your first 2 weeks of holidays when you're a school kid. It was like, fuck yeah, I'm on holidays. Then after a while, it's like, all right, what else do I need to do? But
I think it'll be. Sorry, no, you keep going.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I think if you built yourself to a level before shit hit the fan, where you were putting quality nights on and all that sort of stuff beforehand, I think people will remember that and they'll flock to you before maybe your lesser kind of things. I'm not saying that because I run a curated joint, but I wouldn't want to be a open mic solely room when it comes back, because you don't know what the fuck's going to happen, or a high fee entry gig. Like if you're running a free room, and if you nail your first, I mean, you should be nailing your lineups anyway, but if you have fucking solid lineups, because all these comics are going to be hungry, no one's going to be saying no to gigs.
Oh,
But
yes, definitely.
if you have the best lineups you could possibly get, and you advertise it properly when shit goes back to normal, I think you'll do all right. And that's what I plan on doing. But it's going to take time.
Yeah.
I think, but there's, then again, I also think this is such a great way to get it. Like, you guys are doing the right thing. You guys are making content. You're doing stuff. Like, this is a good opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, like right now, like, let's not be sad about a lot of things. Like, there's businesses out there that are really hustling hard and getting stuff done.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And comedy's there's no difference in that. It's just another business. And you can, you know, if I was you, Geordie Mitchell, I'd be putting down an idea of being like, all right, when the place is open, we're going to know 3 weeks out. So what do we do in that first 2 weeks?
Oh,
you know,
I've got
and just
some ideas,
really,
don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah, like tearing into it and just being like really putting that flag in the ground and being like, we're fucking open for business, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
While everyone else is like sitting on their hands and then like going, oh yeah, you know, like who wants to, like, you've already done for like, it's a really good time. It's a really good time.
No, I agree 100%. And I'm quite lucky. I've got a very good relationship with the owner of Death or Glory. So when shit does happen, yeah, we'll be on it. But I'm also worried about that that kind of limbo period, because, you know, not everyone's want to get out. I think a lot of people are scared, not just financially, but for physical health as well. So, like, a lot of people are like, oh, you know what, I'm going to skip the first 2 weeks. You know, I'm just going to catch up with people one-on-one at home or blah, 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 instead of going out. But, yeah.
Going back to your point, Benny, about finance-wise, I think it'd be wise for acts to factor that in. And, you know, if I was going to put on a show in a festival or on a normal gig for $20, it might look like $12 in the future. And you just got to adjust that, like, as a business, and be like, what's the market looking like? If the market's different, you got to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be a different landscape when we come back.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's going to be like, for instance, I wanted to, like, after my little black market comedy thing, I wanted to turn Death or Glory into a paid entry room, because I thought, if I've got 50 people a night, up to 50 people a night for 5 weeks coming in, that's a massive database of people who know about the room and know I put on quality shows and all that sort of shit. So why not charge at the door once this is all done? Then I can actually pay headliners and comics and stuff. I thought, that's a fucking awesome utopian idea, but now I'm just like, nah, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen.
You could get real crafty when you open your room back and be like, look, it's $5 to get in, but like, if you just sign on to this mailing list, it's free. And then just build up an empire of people that you can just like invite to further things, and they don't pay anything.
Yeah, no shit. It's not a bad idea.
I mean, you heard it here first, but
I also never use email, so I don't know how that's going to go.
you gotta adapt. You know, things are changing. You gotta adapt. People start thinking of good deals, and there's, you know, if you don't adapt, you get left behind.
Adapt, overcome.
Something's going to happen. I think right now as well, like, comedy's wanted more than ever. As a pure art form. That's why I think it's really important to make sure when you do rooms, it's like, don't be coming in here with all your we don't want 15 acts of 5 minutes of Corona gear.
Oh, I'm already sick of it. I can't imagine.
I think it'd be really important for, like, if that's not what you want for the room, like, to let acts know, like, hey, by the way, like, just keep this, like, you know, co-free. Like, we don't want them to hear anything about it, or we want to do this, or keep it down to this, and set the tone for rooms and be like, we want people to forget about shit and that sort of stuff. Like,
that's a very interesting point. We had Hugh Robertson and Senor James on, and, you know, they're quite pivotal members at Apartment Comedy. One being an actor and one being a runner, as you know, I've seen you there a few times. But the last 2 weeks before everything closed up, you know, Apartment Comedy was saying, you know, no coronavirus jokes, and I completely understand that coming into it, because that would have, you know, played on people's fears, sort of thing. And I think people will just be bored of it as opposed to be scared of it.
I'm not worried about fear. I'm just worried about audiences' boredom.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it works the same way. There's nothing worse in watching a comedy night is seeing a whole bunch of comics that do crowd work, and then seeing a comic come in later in the show that hasn't watched the show, walk up on stage and go, "So what do you do with yourself, mate?" And 7 people have already asked him.
How many times have we had this conversation, Benny? Yeah, it's the fucking worst.
Yeah, and the audience automatically goes, and rightfully so. And I think there's the eye roll factor is what you got to avoid. And just
who the fuck is this guy? Yeah.
So
it's the worst.
On that as well, I mean, there's 2 camps to this. A lot of people will say you can't tell people what they can say, and I'm like, just fucking, it's your room. Do whatever the hell you want. Like, as long as it's stipulated before the gig, and you go, "Hey, you want this gig? Cool. Don't do this." They can go, "I don't want it." So I think it's be really good to be like, we're doing a good show. We want to have a good 2 strong weeks. Come in and do 5 minutes of your best.
Yeah, no, I agree. It would be like, you know, I don't agree with saying people what they can and can't say in terms of what's funny and what's not. That is completely up to you. In the words of the great Paul Sharpland, that is between you and the crowd. That is the relationship between you and the crowd to work out between yourselves what's funny and what's not. But if it came to something like, you know what, that table there, Jarryd, they're regulars. They're here every second week, if not every week. If you're going to pick on anyone, don't pick on them. You know what I mean? That's completely different.
Of course it is. And I think if you want to be a professional comedian or you want to make a career out of it, you got to get fucking used to dealing with guidelines. You know, you want to go on telly, you can't do whatever you want.
You got to have material. Yeah.
You just got to.
Crowd work isn't material.
and as an artist, if you say, "Oh, but if I don't do this, I'm not going to have a good gig," then guess what? You're not good enough yet.
Yeah. No, agreed. You can't. That's a pet peeve of mine. I know it is a Benny, and you know, someone just rocks up at the end. And it's like, "Oh, hey, who are you?" You know,
and it's like,
mate. If you were here 5 minutes earlier, you'd know he's a fucking plumber. His name's Steve, and yes, his wife's banging. Leave him alone. It's ridiculous.
Yes, he's punching above his weight. We all know that, right?
Yeah, it always goes back to that. Cool. "Oh man, you're fucking punching. Oh, you got money."
Yeah.
Oh, it's the fucking worst. Like, know the room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Know the room. Like, everyone else has put in all the fucking effort to organise the gig, do the lineup, get the people there, make sure the lighting's right, make sure the sound's good. All you have to do is know the fucking room you're walking into. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I don't have many peeves in comedy. It's my only one. You know, because if I only do one gig a night, like, I don't do multiple gigs, and I usually sit and watch a fair bit of the gig.
Yeah,
and it's just annoying. I think as me, if I want to do crowd work, I would watch the whole gig, so then I can go up there and be like, "Hey, you know that thing the other comic said? Here's my callback. You know, like, here's the thing that I'm going to say about you, and it's also going to have something to do with you because that's how I want to operate."
Yeah.
It's a real pet peeve of mine, and I just don't know what you're expecting to find out. You know, like, if crowd work for me should always be premeditated. You know, like, you're in there and you go whack, whack, whack. Riffing's a different idea. Something happens, you react on it. It's amazing. But just going, "What's your name? What do you do?" and just hoping that it's going to be good.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it never is, and that's because it's just mathematically hard to pull off. That's why I don't do it.
How do you go with hecklers?
Love it. Yeah. I did that tour of regional Australia in January, and it was a real challenge. Because they don't have hecklers so much. And this is my thing with hecklers. 95% of the time, a heckler's usually your best audience member, right? And they're not heckling you, being like, "Get off." They're just in the show, or they say things that, like, they finish your jokes logically.
Yeah.
And they go, "Oh," and you're like, "But what about that?" And you're like, it's this. And you're like, "No, it was, you know, rabbits." Yeah. And they just fuck it for you, right? So they're really enjoying it. So you can't just shit on them so hard. You know, sometimes it's good to have fun, but I like it, and I like it a lot. I think a really good heckling technique that I learned early was, if somebody says something to you, okay, so Geordie's heckled me, I would then go talk to Benny. And I would be like, is he your mate?
Yeah.
I'm like, because it takes his voice away.
Yeah.
But shits on him with a third party. I go, did you bring your fucking dickhead mate, Benny?
Gotcha.
It's just like, what? Leave him at home in the cage. You know, like, and just keep going. So it's always like, shoot sideways. Because otherwise you're opening a dialogue. Yeah. And it's only a matter of time before they win.
Never thought of it like that.
Yeah, shoot sideways.
That's good.
There you go.
That's also extra good advice, seeing your ex-military, shoot sideways and all that. So that's good. That's very sound advice.
Yeah.
What about influences? What sort of influences have you had? And what sort of people?
For doing comedy, as in like,
what do you like? Who you sort of look up to and sort of mold?
I love sort of like the full frontal era. I love like Sean McAuliffe. I like British comedy. I think probably the first comedy I saw was Monty Python, Holy Grail. I have this vivid memory of sitting on the floor with my brother, and my parents had friends around and they were drunk and they were pissing themselves. And we laughed at the parts which we didn't understand because we wanted to fit in.
Yeah.
Like I remember that. And it wasn't until years later I'm like, no, that's funny. I
also
love that sort of stuff. Yeah, like all that is the really golden era of comedy. I think for stand-ups, I just kind of enjoy a lot. I don't watch a lot of specials. I watch a lot of, not really. I can't remember the last time I sat down and watched an hour of comedy on TV, but I like watching other people's comedy live.
Yeah.
You know, I still get a kick out of seeing like my good friends in comedy, people like Billy, Matt O'Neill. I can watch Matt O'Neill perform a joke I've heard 57 times.
Oh, he's
and I still get a kick out of it live. But on TVs, I think the magic's not there sometimes.
Yeah.
So
that's fair enough.
And I think when I watch stuff online, like when I watch something like say on YouTube, I see a joke and I go, that person's killing.
Yeah.
And I just go, that they're destroying, and I don't actually laugh.
Yeah.
But when I'm live, I laugh. I actually laugh.
So you kind of switch it on, switch it off.
Yeah, I see comedy from the art form, and it kind of ruins it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I understand that.
I look at it now and I go, oh, I would have said this, or I would have paused here, or I would have done that, and it's a shame because I used to love it.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in, say, 5 years, or down the track? Where do you see yourself? I mean, doing?
I'll be making a living out of this.
Okay.
Yeah, I will be. That's just the fact of the matter. So, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be semi-professional. Now I just need to keep working. If my same trajectory keeps going, it'll be fine.
Oh, sweet.
So what is involved with what is involved in that for you to make a living out of this? Like what do you
I think
see yourself doing?
Sort of in a micro and macro way, I think it would be content creation. Yep. So if I want to go full time, have people know me in 3 years and put on shows, I'd like to follow those that show up with 2 other shows that I've done before that they haven't seen.
Yeah.
So if I keep ticking the material over, by the time you make it, you've already got stuff you can do again.
Yeah.
To keep relevant. It's almost like in music sense. It's like, imagine if you got famous at your 3rd album and then everyone goes back and listens to the 2nd and 1st.
Yeah.
So just keeping a body of work. And then unfortunately, comedy's more than just performing. You got to be across a lot. You need to learn how to self-promote yourself. You need to have the balls to self-promote yourself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you got to do that just kind of suck.
Yeah.
And putting out a post, being like, it's disgusting. Like it's gross. Like, come see my show. Why? Because someone said I was good. Like,
please.
No one likes doing that.
No.
Like the amount of things I've posted and gone, you're a fuckhead. Like, is but I want people to come see me, you know, like, and sometimes you just got to suck eggs, and that is a whole nother skill that you got to bomb at.
Yeah.
And just get ready to learn and get to the point where you can kill off stage with your game.
Yeah.
And that only takes trying and effort, exactly like any other skill. And I think.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just going to say, just on that point, you are very good with your marketing. Like that fucking Star Wars clip you did. I've watched that about 10 times, I reckon. It's brilliant.
I actually did that because in this time I went, look, I want to learn how to use a video editing program.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I might as well make something because that's the best way to learn. And then I was like, and I just made it for a bit of fun. And then I watched it and I was like, no, it's pretty funny.
Still burnout.
So it just started as me being like, I need to learn how to cut something here and replace the audio.
Yeah.
And I went, if I just do this tutorial that I saw on YouTube, I'm going to bang my head against the wall. So I went, fuck it. You've shown me what to do. I'm going to apply it. But yeah, I think being relevant all the time. There's a rule called the rule of threes, which is like, you don't really go and see something until you've seen it 3 times. So if you see it on Facebook, then you see it posted, then you hear someone talking about it, you're like, fine, I'll go.
No shit.
Yeah, it's like if you see something enough, you're just like, it's a perceived hype.
Yeah, fuck, I got sucked in for Tiger King with that.
100%, same thing, man.
Realised,
man.
Saw it on Netflix, and then not watched it on it. I mean, I saw the ad pop up on Netflix when I was doing fuck all, and then saw all these memes of some bumpkin-looking cunt, and then a friend said, "Have you seen Tiger King yet? You're a cat lover, you'll enjoy it." I was like, "Oh, fuck it, all right, yeah no shit,
fine,
freeze.
All right, like give me like mercy." It works if you can be across a lot of different platforms and just don't talk shit. Just kind of like sell yourself honestly, I think is really important. If you try too hard, it really comes across. But just kind of be, just kind of be honest about it and just be, you know, like I'll do a lot of stuff on Facebook. I'm like, hey, look, this is what I want to do. I'd love to see you there. Here's the link.
Yeah.
And then I track all the analytics too. And it's not until like 10 of those have gone out that people start acting.
Yeah.
So if I start 2 weeks before, then that 10 is now this close to when the show starts, and then they start acting. So you got to get in early and start building.
2-week rule.
Work, man. Work.
Yeah. What advice would you give any comics who might be, you know, this is a strange time. No one's really able to do anything other than what we're doing now, and you know, creating content like you did with your Star Wars video. But for comics who might be under a year in terms of shows and performing and stuff, what advice would you give to newcomers? Like, what's something you wish you knew when you started?
I would say really try and find how you want to sound and how you want to be on stage, because as soon as you figure it out, it's much easier to write for. So if you just try stuff. When I first started, once a week, I would do a gig to my phone and I'd record it with no audience and I'd watch it back. And that was the toughest gigs I ever did.
Holy fuck.
Because it was horrible. But I used to watch myself and I go, I don't like that. What am I doing with my hand?
Yeah.
And it was disgusting. I hated it. But if you figure out how you want to be and what character you would like to perceive, because most people's stand-up characters, I would say, are their best version of them.
Yeah.
Or who it's their Tyler Durden, to, you know, use a Fight Club reference. You know, it's if you can figure out what you want to be, whether that's the awkward person, the confident person, the angry person, or whatever.
Yeah.
Then when you start figuring out ideas, you start writing for that person.
Yeah.
And then you find the joke straight away because you're like, nah, because they would say it like this, and they are you.
No shit.
So yeah, figure out what you want to be.
It's really good advice. It's wicked. I don't know if you're actually allowed to talk about Fight Club, but yes. I get it. I don't think you took away the key thing from that fucking movie, but
that's good.
Very good analogy.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, thank you for being on today.
No worries.
Much appreciated.
I really enjoyed it.
Is there anywhere where people can see some content and
Like Facebook and Instagram, essentially. I mean, if you get there, then I'll let anyone know anything that's happening anytime from there. That's in this day and age. Go there, fill your boots.
easy?
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jarryd. That was very informative, very entertaining, very funny. Absolute
No
pleasure
worries,
talking
guys.
to you, man.
All right. Have a good one, okay?
You too, man. See you soon.
Take care.